Yeah.
Yeah.
Because initially, leading up to the Civil War, a lot of people may not know, Abraham Lincoln was trying to figure out what to do with black people. One of his theories was colonizing Central America. To send all the black people, hey, colonize Central America, send them there. He was going through things in his mind of what do I do with black people here. Yeah. Eventually was, we needed them for war, and then black people wanted to fight in war.
And people think Lincoln's first work to free enslaved people was in 1863, in 1862, but I'm gonna drop some new knowledge on you. The first enslaved person he freed was in 1841. A woman named Nance Leggins Costly. He helped her to win her freedom.
Because he was a lawyer.
He was a lawyer. He was a lawyer.
Yeah.
And he helped her to win her freedom. She had 2 daughters and a son, a 2-year-old son in 1841. That son grew up, joined the Union Army, and was here in Galveston in June of 1865. So the first male freed by Abraham Lincoln eventually became a soldier and came to Galveston bringing the message of freedom. That don't mean he was sympathetic to everybody's desire, but I'm saying that's some of the historical facts that people don't know. He worked her case and helped her to win. This is Trials of the First Slave Freed by Abraham Lincoln.
Hold it up.
So Carl Adams wrote that book. The first slave freed by Abraham Lincoln was 1841, not in 1863. And she had 3 kids, two daughters and a son. Man. And Carl is here. He just flew in today, and he'll be doing a book signing on Friday, tomorrow, here in this location, the Juneteenth Legacy Project headquarters. So it's our goal to help educate and empower people with information, and then they can make better decisions. As they become more enlightened, they will drive out the darkness of ignorance and intolerance from just not knowing. You need to be enlightened, and this American house that we live in needs to be rewired. It needs to be replumbed. The foundation is cracked because the true history has not been taught. So that's what I like about y'all sharing true history and encouraging people to read books. You know, the weapons we used before, guns, bullets, and if we have to use that to survive, do what you got to do to survive. You know, I believe in protecting yourself, your family, but also empower your mind by reading and knowing the information, finding out that it was black soldiers that made Lee surrender at Appomattox. Like that. So Beyonce.
Now, and you got to think, we got high schools in Houston
named after Lee.
Now they started to change them just recently. But
so Beyonce has a song called Black Parade, right? But I think of this Black Parade of victories. These Union soldiers going from town to town and state to state. They took Richmond, April 3rd of '65. They were at Appomattox. Boom, they take that. The white soldiers are mustered out because they've been in the service. April 9th, 1865 represents like the end of the Civil War, in theory, right? Some people think we still fighting the Civil War.
I mean,
later,
I can't think of the year when they had the Dixiecrats. That was.
I mean, it's a continuous battle of good and evil, and light and darkness. And the thing is, the soldiers, they moved from Appomattox. The black soldiers, somebody had to come to Texas. They say, we'll go. Our brothers and sisters are over there. My family is over there.
Yeah, that sense of unity. From reading and understanding.
Who want to fight more for the freedom than the enslaved people? That's why 75%. You think about what was the population of black folks to the overall population, and it was 75% of the forces that came into Texas were black soldiers.
Because I want to say it was what, over 200,000.
200,000 soldiers that fought. But the ones that came to Texas, about 20,000 or a little more. General Philip Sheridan.
Some in Louisiana. Soldiers in Texas.
But the ones that was ordered over to Texas in January of 1866, Sheridan said he had 6,500 white soldiers, 19,768 black soldiers.
One thing I want to touch on also, Sam, is the grounds of Galveston, and you being a native in the spirit of Galveston. A lot of times people in Houston, because I'm from Houston, Savvi's from Houston, we don't get the integral history of Galveston. People just started figuring out the heavyweight boxing champ, Jack Johnson, and his connection to Galveston.
Most famous Galveston native son.
And then we started talking about Juneteenth and that story and his connection to Galveston. I didn't know, because in school they don't mention Galveston like that.
Well, Galveston was the New York of the South.
And see, they never would tell us that.
Galveston was a major port city with a natural deep water port here before the ship channel and all of that up to Houston, where ships could come all the way in and bring all that business to Houston. Houston was just land and stuff up there. It wasn't a city. Galveston was the most popular city.
Houston was pretty much mush.
Yeah, Galveston was at one time the most popular city in Texas before more people moved in. And the reason being, it was a major commercial center. The largest enslaver in the state of Texas lived here where Kempner Park is. Kempner Park is where his home was at. His not original home there. His name was Robert Mills. He and his brother David had 850 enslaved people in 1865. So between the 1820s and 1865, when they came here in the 20s, they built an empire that was so large that they had Mills money. They printed their own money starting in 1843. They had their own money, Mills money. They were better than the bank backing it up.
And
they were the bank. So they had 7 plantations, 4 in Brazoria County, 2 in Matagorda County, and 1 in Fort Bend County. So his home was here, but his brother ran the plantations from Brazoria. So when the Union soldiers got here, the reason they come to Galveston, it's a major port center.
Coming to Galveston first.
Yeah, it's
to let Texas know.
To let Texas know. You get Galveston, you got Texas. At that time in 1865, if you took Galveston down, you took Texas down, because this was the commercial. This is where everything had to come here to get shipped out. You bring it in by train and put it on ships to move and navigate. So if you take over Galveston, they can't get their crops into the Gulf to get it nowhere else, because everything was coming to Galveston. Yeah. So it was a major commercial center. So on the north side of the Strand, we're sitting here on the south side on June 17, 2021. Free men talking about this history, but on the north side in 1865 on June 17, people were still being traded and sold through the largest auction house west of New Orleans. So in this 2200 block, we're changing the energy in this space where they used to auction people, we're auctioning art.
Let's, before we wrap it up, I want to talk about this space, the Juneteenth Legacy Project. Because now we're moving up to what's happening now in 2021. We built those building blocks, like you said, and taking them from them 1800s and moving and talking about the importance of Galveston. Because a lot of people, they just look at Galveston as a place to go to the beach. If they're from Houston, it's just a place to go to the beach. They don't know the history.
Oh, we're about to light them up. There's a Buddhist saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Let class begin. And
not understanding the deep legacy, heritage, and culture.
Oh, absolutely. Galveston is an island of success. During Reconstruction, you have people like George T. Ruby. Here's another champion of equal rights during Reconstruction. If not for George T. Ruby and Matthew Gaines, you don't have a Prairie View A&M University and public institution. But you know what else you don't have? Texas A&M University. I'm a proud graduate of Texas A&M University, but when I was there, I didn't know that Matthew Gaines, George T. Ruby, black legislators helped push to set up Texas A&M. Why didn't anybody teach me that?
Yeah, and then you had those Merrill Acts, for land grants. Yeah. And then the Freedmen's
Bureau.
Land grant
college. But it was black legislators that were pushing for education because they knew that their children were going to need education. So the public school education we think of today, it wasn't like that back in the 60s, 1860s and 70s. They pushed and made a priority education. So now as we get a new Juneteenth holiday, we need to push for education. We need to go to work to train ourselves about this history and teach ourselves this history. If they're going to take it out the classroom, then we need to put it on public display, like we have this mural on public display 365 days, 7 days a week,
Because some
24
people,
hours a day.
if you're watching this on YouTube, man, hey, y'all, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. This is Gentleman's History Hour.